I'm Andrew, the third of the three children of Ruth and Charles Connery. Ruth, my mom, died on November 2nd, 2008, last year, and we held her funeral on November 6th. That week the weather was extraordinary, warm and bright, and the weather turned as soon as the celebration was over. For all kinds of reasons, we couldn't arrange her interment until later in February, and we chose Valentine's Day. It's now later that evening. The weather was again perfect for our ceremony. Afterwards, we met at the Jitterbug Cafe, a favorite spot of ours in Waterdown, and many of the family and a few friends gathered for a small celebration. I asked everyone for a little story or a memory of my mom, and these are those stories.
Okay, so my strongest memories actually of Nanny are my first memory and my last, so that's what I'm going to talk about. And my first memory of her, she stayed with us, my recollection is a week, but it could have been a couple days, and she taught me how to bake cookies for the first time. I think I was about 5. And we made chocolate chip cookies, which I still make. I have the same recipe that I still use today. And my last memory of her was probably October. I went in to see her, and she was confused at the time, and actually she was under the impression that I was moving in there, and she offered to let me stay in her room, and she said she was excited to have me there. So I just remember her being the warmest person that I knew, and that's about it.
I don't really have a story as much as an impression or a memory, and that is Sunday night dinners, because Mom prided herself on putting together a really nice meal, and I remember friends growing up asking to come over for Sunday night dinners, and she used to be a fabulous cook and was a source of much happiness growing up with putting together a wonderful meal.
Hi, I'm Stacy and I'm the twit. And the reason I'm the twit is one time we were at a New Year's Day dinner at the Beijing Chinese restaurant. And you know how Ruthie likes to make her faces, and she's doing her thing, and I'm sort of playing along with her, and all of a sudden she just called me a twit. And Joanne said to her, "What did you call my friend?" And she said, "A twit." And Joanne says, "Well, you can't call her that. She's my friend." And she says, "She's my friend too." And that's my favorite story.
I don't really have a funny story or anything about Ruth, but my memory of Ruth is always when the two of them would come over and join us and the kids for dinner. And we used to do it all the time when Kathy's parents would come and visit. And then we did it a few times after Kathy's parents weren't around anymore, but it was always a pleasure to have the two of them over. And they were nice dinners, so I miss that.
Ruth and I were neighbors in Grimsby, and my job was to take Ruth shopping. And we would go out and she'd say, "Oh, thank God we're shopping. Now we can go out for lunch." But whenever I go by a Northern Reflection store, I think about Ruth. That's my story.
Yay. Ruthie loved her kitchen, and it was a mark of honor to be invited into her kitchen. And in the early days, we had to learn to work together. So we weren't very coordinated, and we would just muddle around and bump into each other, and she had a very unique way of heating the buns. She would put them in a paper bag and put them in the oven. But we didn't coordinate who was watching that paper bag in the oven. So all of the buns and the bag burst into flames, and we had to bump into each other to rescue the buns, which we ate, and nobody knew that we had nearly burned the place down. And after that, we each had tasks. Ruthie did buns, I did gravy. And that's my memory of Ruthie.
One story that's top of mind takes me back to summer of 2001. We have a place up north on the Manitoulin Island, and it was always our hope that we could get Mom up there before she got so old that she couldn't. And we weren't at all sure how she was going to do up there, because there's not a flat board in the place, and of course there's an outhouse and there were showers outside. And we had thought that if she made it through 2 or 3 days, that would be pretty good. And I think in all we probably spent 4 days or perhaps even 4.5 days together, and she had great memories of that place, and we have photographs reminding us of that. And her favorite experience, I think, up there was the morning shower outside.
My name's Kathy, and I'm Ruth's niece, and it's just, I'm going back actually to something that Val had said when she was talking about warming up the buns, because it's bringing back something from my childhood, and it was a gift from Aunt Ruth and Uncle Charles to my parents, and they opened it up and it was a bun warmer. And so we all, we had, it was, I can remember it, you would have seen them use it too, so now it's just funny to know that why she gave us the bun warmer and why we, goes back to her story. So I just thought that was kind of cute. It is cute.
My favorite memory of Ruth is when we were hosting one of our birthday parties or an anniversary or something, and we all got together. He would ask Ruth what she would like to drink, and she'll have said, "I'll have a gin double with water." She's still the only person I ever knew that drank gin with water. That's my story.
I take my dear little Catholic elementary JK teacher friend to visit my beloved mother-in-law, who I worship and adore, and who was raised in an all-girls Catholic school, and blah blah blah. And anyway, we go in to see Ruthie, and she's sitting in the corner in the parlor at Alexander Place, and we start chatting. And it wasn't hard to get stories out of Ruth, but sometimes I had to feed her little bits and pieces to get her to open up about things. And so Patty had just come back from singing for the Pope in Rome and talked about her experience and whatnot. And Ruthie became sort of glazed over and kind of quiet in the corner, and she sat back, and I said, "Well, honey," I said, "you seem to enjoy that story. Like, what were you reflecting on?" And she said, "Oh, I was thinking about air travel and how much I loved it. It was almost like having an orgasm." And that's my beloved mother-in-law.
That's it. One of the most recent memories is visiting one afternoon when Ruth wasn't feeling too well, and going back in the evening, and she looked up from the bed with her characteristic big smile. That was the most wonderful thing to see. And I said at the end, I said, "I'm leaving here feeling so much better than when I got there."
Hello everybody, thank you very much for coming to the Jitterbug and celebrating Ruth's life. We enjoy having you here every Saturday, and we can't wait till the next Saturday. Hi everybody, I'm a cook at the Jitterbug, and I guess we'll be feeding Charles now because he's coming every Saturday. And we met Joanne and Andrew a long time ago, and they've been coming every Saturday, and they love it here, and we love having them. Thanks.